This video is designed to introduce you to the document-based question of the AP European History College Board exam. Although writing seems to be one of the greatest challenges facing most students, anyone can do well with this type of essay if they understand the grading system. The DBQ is graded on a scale of 1 to 9, and this grade is 45% of the writing portion of the exam, which is half of the grade for the entire test. I coach students to shoot for grades that are at least a 6. Of course, it's all the better if you can get between a 7 and 9, but the scoring method makes the minimum of 6 essential. So those of you who are veterans of the AP United States History exam should take note. The AP Euro DBQ has a unique grading scheme. It's called core scoring. A document-based question starts with a prompt that appears like any old basic essay you would encounter on a test. But the DBQ is different because the question is accompanied by 10 to 12 historical documents. Most of them are primary source documents from the era in question, but sometimes secondary documents from historians are included. Although most of the documents are text, they can also be in the form of maps, charts, graphs, and images. Each document is preceded by the author and its source. Although you must critically analyze the information in the document, you should pay attention to the identity of the author of each document, when the document was written, and its intended audience. Remember that the graders are looking for evidence of your ability, and this is quoting directly from the College Board course description. They're looking for your ability to approach documents with the awareness that they are descriptions, interpretations, and opinions of events and developments. They are made by particular people, at particular places and times, and for specific reasons. What this means is that you should never spend any time in your essay describing what a document says. Do not summarize the documents, and I can't make this point strongly enough. Do not ever simply describe what the document says. Worse yet, do not quote the documents in your essay. If you would like to use a short descriptive phrase as a quote, because it is especially important, for instance, if you wanted to use the phrase, quote, all men are created equal, if the Declaration of Independence was a document, then go right ahead. But if you are quoting more than 6 to 8 words, you're wasting your time. Worse yet, you're wasting the time of the grader. By the time the grader gets to your essay, they've spent a day and a half analyzing the documents while getting trained by the College Board, and they've probably graded several hundred other essays before getting to yours. They don't need to be told what is in the documents. You have to analyze the documents and integrate this analysis and synthesis into the essay, which addresses all parts of the question. Keep in mind that the DBQ was written by a committee of college professors and high school teachers. The documents that they have chosen are designed to work together. In fact, the College Board description says that you can't understand any particular document except when you look at that document in relation to the others in the set. Keep in mind also that they acknowledge that there is no one correct answer to this question. There are several ways in which the documents can be considered. In fact, the College Board notes that best essays use documents in several different ways. The DBQ is not designed to test your knowledge of subject matter, but rather to assess your ability to formulate and support an answer using documentary evidence. You are not required to include information in addition to that which is supplied by the documents. Sure, it helps, but it's not absolutely required. The best way to prepare for the DBQ is to learn how it's graded. The students that have the most success on AP History exams have learned to think like a grader. As you read these essay questions, both in the DBQ and the free response, ask yourself, what needs to be in this essay to get a good grade? What are the graders looking for? Now remember, what I said is that you should shoot for the DBQ grade of at least a 6, and this is why. The core scoring rubric defines 6 points which are part of what they call a basic core. You have to get each of these points in order to be eligible to move to the expanded core of 3 points. In addition, if you miss any one of the points in the basic core, the highest grade you can get on the 9-point scale is a 5. You're locked at the 5 if you don't get the first 6. Let's look at each one of the individual points. The thesis. Thesis. First and foremost, every essay needs a point to prove, and that's the thesis. The DBQ thesis cannot simply restate the question, and it has to address all parts of the question. It is not a statement of fact, it is a statement that can be argued. You have to take a position on the question and prove it by using the documents. Now, we'll spend a lot of time in the future improving our thesis writing skills, but it is an absolute must for the DBQ. The essay must use the majority of documents individually and separately. What that means to me is that you have to use all the documents, period. If there's no way you can use a document, if you keep trying to fit one into your essay and you just can't do it, if your life is in danger, well, then okay, you don't have to use every single document. But you can only ignore one. If you choose to ignore more than one document, it might not make sense to write the essay in the first place. You are allowed to misinterpret one document, but that's it. Even though the College Board says that you must correctly interpret a majority of the documents, it also says that you can misinterpret no more than one. What that means is that if you misinterpret two documents, the highest DBQ grade you can get on the 9-point scale is a 5. Now you must also support this thesis with an appropriate interpretations of a majority of the documents. That means you are not restating the documents. The essay will not describe the documents, but rather it will provide your interpretation of the documents, which proves your thesis. The error that most students make is not using the documents to support the thesis. The documents are your evidence. Think of yourself as a prosecutor in a criminal court. You have to use the documents as evidence that proves your thesis beyond a reasonable doubt. The fifth of the 6 core points is noting the effect of bias, or point of view, in at least 3 of the documents. Now we have a special lesson that specifically focuses on this skill in this week, and it's fairly important. It is also an essential skill to understanding history. Whenever you're looking at any historical evidence, keep in mind that you're looking at an opinion, not a fact. The last of the core scoring rubric is grouping documents. Now this works well into crafting the essay because it defines your paragraphs. We have a lesson exercising this skill as well, but when you look at your first DBQ, which is about the Black Death, you can see how grouping documents into perspectives that they represent, the opinions they share, or the time period in which they appear will help outline the structure of your essay. And the best essays will show how documents can fit cleanly into 2 or even more groups. Now when you look at the expanded core, you can see that there are 8 different characteristics that can bring your grade of 6, if the essay meets the requirements of the core score, up to a 7, 8, or even a 9. These characteristics are extensions of some of the core scoring characteristics, like point of view, grouping, or a fully developed and comprehensive thesis. If you concentrate on covering all the aspects of the core, chances are you'll go beyond the minimum and meet some of the requirements of the expanded core at the same time. In closing, the DBQ essay is formulaic. If you know the formula well and you practice, there is no reason you can't do well. As we exercise the separate skills involved in this and we write essays throughout the year, be sure to return to the core scoring rubric and keep in mind how your essay will be graded. And as always, if you have a question or are unsure of anything, do not hesitate to ask me.